All right, we're going to wind the clock all the way back to 1987 today. We're going to look at a game that tried to do something that sounds kind of impossible, perfectly simulate a professional sport when all you've got is paper, dice, and some really, really detailed charts. So let's talk about APBA Pro Bowling. Okay, so just look at this thing. I mean, we're talking way before powerful computers and hyper-realistic physics engines. This box right here, this was pretty much the peak of sports simulation. The whole idea was that everything you needed to recreate the drama, the stats, the feel of a pro bowling tour was right here. It was basically a whole universe you could play on your kitchen table. And, that's really the big question we're diving into, isn't it? Could a game like this, a totally analog game, just through pure clever design, actually capture the skill, the pressure, all the little details of professional bowling? Well, let's find out. You have to understand, APBA's whole deal wasn't just about selling a fun game. They were selling authenticity. Their entire philosophy, from marketing to design, was built on this one single powerful promise. This was going to be as close to real life as you could possibly get. And you can see it right here in their slogan. This wasn't just some catchy phrase. No, this was a mission statement. The designers were absolutely convinced, after years and years of research, that they had actually cracked the code on how to replicate a bowler's real-world performance on a tabletop. So how do you even back up a claim that big? Well, their guarantee was incredibly specific. They literally promised that if you played enough games, a bowler's card would spit out an average almost identical to their real-life one. You'd actually see their strengths, their weaknesses, and even the rate of those tough splits would match what really happened on the Pro Tour. And that brings us to this number, 48. This is the proof of that commitment. This wasn't some generic player 1 versus player 2. Nope, you got 48 of the top touring professional bowlers from that season, and each one had their own unique card built from a mountain of their actual performance stats. Okay, so the promise was huge, but the real question is, how on earth did they pull it off with just some dice and paper? Let's get into the mechanics because this is where it gets really cool. All right, take a look at this. This right here, this was the brain of the whole operation. Forget about pixels and processors. These giant printed boards, these were your computer. Every single roll of the dice would send you on a little journey across these charts to figure out what happened. So let's walk through it. First, you roll 2 dice of different colors. Let's say you get a 5 and a 2, so that's 52. You look up 52 on your specific bowler's card in their strike column. Now, here's the clever part. That doesn't give you the result. It gives you a new number. Then you take that number over to the huge strike board, and that's what tells you if you got a strike or exactly which pins are still standing. It's this brilliant little 2-step system. But, okay, what if you don't get a strike? What if you leave some pins up? Well, this is where the game's incredible depth really starts to show. You roll again, of course, but now you use a totally different column on the bowler's card. And you have to check one of, get this, 9 massive, completely different boards that are dedicated only to spare attempts. And that level of detail, that obsession, that's where this game goes from just being a cool idea to something kind of astonishing. It's what made it all feel so real. It's all in these hidden mechanics. 467. So what's that about? Well, that's how many different spare and split combinations the game simulates, individually. We're not talking about, oh, you left 2 pens. No. We're talking about this 6-10 split, the 3-7, the dreaded 7-10 split, hundreds of them, each with its own probability calculated from real-world data. It's just wild. And if you thought that was detailed, get this. The game actually cares if your bowler is left-handed or right-handed. I mean, think about it. The angle you come at the pins from is everything, right? So certain spares are just statistically harder for a righty than a lefty and vice versa. This game knew that. The math baked right into the charts reflects that reality. That's just incredible for 1987. But maybe the most impressive detail of all is that this simulation wasn't just physical, it was psychological. The designers actually figured out a way to build the human element of pressure right into the game's engine. So here's how it worked. Those big result boards, they weren't static. When you got to those clutch moments, the 8th, 9th, and especially the 10th frame, the game literally makes it harder to get a strike. The odds actually shift to simulate that mounting tension. And what's more, the effect was stronger for less skilled pros, while the seasoned champs were less likely to choke. Just brilliant. So, okay, you've got this unbelievably deep, almost fanatically detailed simulation. What's the payoff? What did it actually feel like to sit down and play this thing?
Well, the biggest payoff, and this might surprise you, was speed. I mean, look at this. A real head-to-head game of bowling might take you about 20 minutes, right? You could roll through an entire game of APBA in less than 10. You get all the statistical realism and the strategy, but with none of the downtime.
And that speed just opened up a whole new world. Suddenly, you could run an entire 48-man tournament by yourself in about a week. Or you could have these intense matches with your friends right there on the kitchen table. And the whole time, you're just absorbing the little details of pro bowling. You're learning which spares are the toughest, which bowlers are truly clutch. It was all the good stuff with zero waiting around. You know, when you look back, APBA bowling was really a work of art. It was an analog masterpiece, a testament to what you could do with clever math and a deep love for a sport. So it just makes you wonder, right? In our modern age of flawless digital physics and photorealistic graphics, have we maybe lost a little something from those days? That little bit of magic that came from just paper, dice, and the power of our own imagination?